I would like to note, thank you, Pastor, very much for the invocation tonight. I would like to note that the interpreter for this evening is Karen Ramos. Please raise your hand, Karen. I was looking over there. Okay. And you can ask her for a listening device if you would like interpretation services. Antes de llamar a la Junta a orden, me gustaría notar que contamos con servicios de interpretación para esta Junta y la señora Ramos está ahí atrás. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the City Council meeting of January 20, 2026. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez.
Here.
Councilmember Escobedo.
Here.
Councilmember Soto.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Here.
Mayor Patino.
Here. It's hard to say 2026 already, but Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for being here. We will now be presenting proclamations. And the proclamation proclaiming January 18th through January 24th, 2026, Respect for Life Week, presented by Councilmember Flores.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is Mr. Lindgren here? There he is. Okay. Gotta make sure you're here before we give it to you. Okay, thank you. Okay.
It says, whereas for over 37 years, the Central Coast Citizens for Family and Life have been celebrating Respect for Life Week in Santa Maria, and whereas it's imperative that the residents of the community defend human life at all ages and conditions of dependency and protect the disabled, the handicapped, and those defenseless in every way, and whereas the year's Life Walk 2026 is scheduled for Sunday, June 28th at 2 p.m. in the City Hall parking lot, and Respect for Life Week is being celebrated January 18th through January 24th, whereas Respect for Life is a vital issue that invites full public awareness. Now, therefore, I, Alice M. Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby recognize the week of January 18th through January 24th, 2026 as Respect for Life Week in the City of Santa Maria and encourage full awareness of this issue. And accepting the award is John Lindgren.
Always an honor, always a privilege. Mayor Patino, council members, grateful and thankful to accept this proclamation on behalf of those who value life from womb to the tomb. Thank you. As you may know, for over 35 years, we have received this honor and do so humbly and with great amount of respect and gratitude to the past and present council members here in Santa Maria. We believe that life starts at conception and should be treasured as the most precious of national resources. There is not a time during the gestational period that the life that God initiated from a fertilized egg to a mature baby is any less of a precious life due to the mother's or father's circumstance. How we got to deeming life as expendable is frankly offensive. That word expendable can be characterized as this: of little significance when compared to an overall purpose and therefore able to be abandoned. The value of life is immeasurable and cannot be discounted as an option of purposes of convenience or selective reasoning. We stand firmly entrenched in this tug of war over the value of innocent life, both of that in the womb and also dealing with the end of life decision making. Our Creator values life as a gift that is formed by His hand and a blessing that reaches from generation to generation. As we ponder the life and death issues of the day, let us remember that the only difference between a baby in the womb and a baby outside the womb is location. Unfortunately, that hasn't stopped some who are pushing more and more to be able to end a baby's life in the incubator. The thought should horrify us all. So we stand for life and are unashamed to proclaim it. We also stand with the mothers and fathers who are unprepared to bring a new life because of their circumstances. We do offer help for those who choose life. We also offer help for those that don't. We realize the tough situation they are in and don't turn our backs on those who are hurt because of it. We have programs for both sides of the spectrum, and that is a fact. And at this time, I would like to present each member of the council a token of our appreciation for respecting life. These are bookmarks that say, "Pray to End Abortion." And I would like to give each of the council members one of these. Thank you. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindgren.
Thank you.
The next is a proclamation proclaiming January 2026 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and Councilmember Escobedo will be making that presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's an honor, but also it's bittersweet because of a topic that it's a taboo, that we don't talk about it, but it's up there, that is human trafficking, even in our next door. Whereas human trafficking is a form of modern slavery that occurs in every state, including California, wherein victims are forced to work in various forms of labor exploitation, included but not limited to commercial sex acts and other services that are indulged through force, fraud, or coercion. And whereas, due to its isolated and discrete nature, many individuals across the globe are unaware that trafficking exists in their communities. It is estimated that more than 28 million people around the world are victims of human trafficking. Human trafficking victims face a cruelty that has no place in a civilized world. It is a crime that takes many forms, and one that tears at our social fabric, debases our common humanity, and violates what we stand for as a country. And whereas increased education about how to identify human trafficking, along with increased knowledge of in-state resources and services for those affected by criminal exploitation, can help decrease the number of future victims. The Santa Barbara County Human Trafficking Task Force is committed to using all applicable laws and resources for investigating human trafficking and prosecuting those engaged in it. And whereas the Santa Barbara County Human Trafficking Task Force has worked diligently to bring awareness to the fact that human trafficking occurs closer to home than one might think. California ranks number 1 in the country for reported human trafficking cases, and that Santa Barbara County is home of hundreds of survivors of human trafficking and exploitation. Human Trafficking Awareness Month is an opportunity to recognize the critical role all Santa Barbara County residents play in preventing, reporting, and adjudicating these heinous crimes. Now, therefore, Alice M. Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby proclaim the month of January 2026 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month in the City of Santa Maria, and I call this observance to the attention to all residents. And here to receive this proclamation, we have Ann McCarty on behalf of the Santa Barbara County Human Trafficking Task Force, under the auspice of the Santa Barbara County District Attorney's Office.
Good evening, Mayor Patino and members of the City Council. My name is Ann McCarty, and I'm the Executive Director of the North County Rape Crisis and Child Protection Center. And with me here tonight is one of our agency's community outreach advocates, Joyce Howerton, sitting right here, right behind me. Tonight, however, I do stand before you as a part of something larger. As a proud member of the Santa Barbara County Human Trafficking Task Force. Our task force is united. We are a united front of professionals who refuse to look away. We bring together the district attorney's office, every law enforcement agency in this county, Homeland Security, and committed community-based organizations, all working side by side with one shared purpose: to stop human trafficking and to hold accountable those who prey on vulnerability for profit. Over the past decade, we have made meaningful progress, but let me be clear. Human trafficking is not a distant problem, and it's not somebody else's issue. It is happening in our county, it is happening in communities like Santa Maria, and it thrives in silence. That is why this proclamation matters. By recognizing January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month, you're doing more than issuing words on a piece of paper. You're shining a light where traffickers depend on darkness. You're sending a clear message that this city is watching, that this city cares, and that there will be no safe haven here for those who exploit to harm others. This proclamation also tells survivors that they are seen, that their suffering matters, and that this community stands ready to protect, educate, and intervene. It affirms that Santa Maria is committed to being a place of safety, accountability, and action. So on behalf of the entire Santa Barbara County Human Trafficking Task Force, thank you for your leadership, your courage, and your commitment to safeguarding the people of this community. Together, we will work until exploitation has no place here. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank you, Ann, for so much that you do in the community in this. Unless people have been exposed to it and have seen the tragedy that happens, and I know that at one time Backpage was very prevalent in all the communities, and it's really sad when people can go online and the pictures of these girls that you would see were prepubescent girls, and it's really sad. And thank you so much for the work you do. And you don't get enough accolades, and I know you're doing a lot of work out there, and it's so quiet. And like I said, it's hidden from a lot of people. A lot of people don't. They say, oh, I heard someone say Santa Maria is a hub. Well, 101 is the corridor. 101 is that corridor, and you have I-5 and 99 also as corridors in California. But I really want to thank you for all the hard work you do. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Ms. Howerton, for the work you do also, because you've stayed for a long time.
Can I make a comment?
Ms. Jessica Bedlam.
And am I gonna be fine by saying this? But there's an upcoming human trafficking on the Central Coast event this Thursday from 11 to 3 p.m. at the Santa Maria Country Club. So if you guys would like to know more about how to identify, what to do when you come across somebody who might be going through the human trafficking, it's highly recommended. We're gonna have all different sort of great experts, even people that survive that. So check it out on humantrafficking.com.
And I want to thank Ann, because I've known Ann for years, because I used to work on North County Rape Crisis. She was my boss. And so I do agree, because I was there in the trenches with the ladies at North County Rape Crisis, and it's true, they don't get enough accolades, they don't get enough recognition, and I just want to know that you're very valued, and your service to this community really is priceless. The work that you do for all these young women is so important. So thank you so much.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a presentation recognizing the 2025 Lights, Sights, and Holiday Nights Award winners. And the presentation will be given by Dennis Smitherman, Interim Director of Recreation and Parks.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm happy to share with you the winners tonight of the Light Sights Holiday Nights Award. This is brought to you by the Recreation and Parks Department, the Recreation and Parks Commission, and the People for Leisure and Youth, also known as Play Inc. We're happy to announce that this is our 30th year with this contest.
Already 30th
So
year,
it's quite
man.
exciting for the anniversary. The longstanding community program celebrates creativity, pride, and holiday spirit throughout the city between our residents and businesses each year. Neighborhoods come alive with these great displays that bring people together and create memorable experiences for visitors and residents alike. There's new community entries this year, and of course, returning participants. They competed in 5 award categories, and the official judging was conducted by the Recreation and Parks Commission. The level and creativity was even bigger for this 30th year. To capture the spirit of this year's contest and showcase the winning awards and displays, we'd like to share a short highlight video made possible by Joe Payne and the crew from the City Manager's office. Thank you again, Joe and group, for putting that together. At this time, I'd like to invite up a Chair of our Recreation and Parks Commission, Rebecca Carey, and our Interim Recreation Services Manager, Rudy Gutierrez, to present certificates to our winners. For best use of lights, it's the Harrell family on Sequoia Drive. I believe the Street family is here for best lawn display on Linda Drive. Thank you. I don't show anyone else in attendance, but to quickly go through these, the best holiday theme again was the Garcia family. The best window display was business owner Engel and Gray on Betaravia Road. And best overall display was the Yancey family on Cavern Avenue. We have a list of honorable mentions, as well as our returning recipients for the Hall of Fame, and those are the recipients that have been recognized year after year for continuing to hang those displays. I'm really glad they didn't have to suffer in the cold this year. Really quick, Michael B. Clayton, attorney at law, Milena family, Bernard family, the Nollis family, Mariscal family, and the Dickerson family are on our Hall of Fame. Every year they're out there for hours, days even, putting up their displays for everybody to enjoy. So on behalf of the City of Santa Maria Rec and Parks Department, the Recreation and Parks Commission, and Play Inc., thank you to everyone who participated in this year's Light Sites Holiday Nights program. Your creativity and commitment continue to make Santa Maria a brighter and more welcoming place during the holiday season. Congratulations again to all of our winners. And Mayor and council members, thank you for letting us present this to you this evening.
And thank you to all these families and everyone else who put up lights, because children love to see it, especially if they're in a neighborhood, they can walk around and see them. And it just adds to the holiday season and the joy. So thank you all in Santa Maria that did this. Next, we will receive a presentation recognizing the winter 2026 class of Hometown Heroes. This presentation will be given by Dennis Smitherman, Interim Director of Recreation and Parks.
Good evening again, Madam Mayor, council members, honored guests, families, and members of our community. Tonight, we're gathering to recognize the service, sacrifice, and deep commitment to others through the City of Santa Maria's Hometown Hero Program. The Hometown Heroes Program was created in 2016 to honor Santa Maria residents who serve or have served in the United States military. Through this program, we honor individuals who are active duty, retired, or honorably discharged. Since its inception, we have more than 200 hometown heroes that we've celebrated, each representing courage, resilience, and service beyond self. Tonight, we proudly honor 6 of Santa Maria's finest. In recognition of their service, each honoree will receive a certificate of appreciation and a commemorative banner bearing their name and image, which is now currently hanging on College Drive, where it'll remain for the next 6 months. At this time, I'd like to invite the mayor to join us to present the certificates, which are also being provided by Interim Recreation Services Manager Rudy Gutierrez.
Over there.
Please. Our first honoree, Henry Masatani, who was in the Army and nominated by friend Mike Rosas. Mike has been an active partner and he was scheduled to be here tonight, so sorry about that. We'll make sure that all honorees that are not here get their certificates. Next up, we have U.S. Army veteran Jess Verdin. Oh, thank you.
That's okay. I'll come to you.
Next up is from the Coast Guard, Rebecca Jean May. This is Rebecca's mom. Thank you. Serving in the United States Navy, Gregory Hirakawa. Next up, we have Lauren Guy Payne, serving in the Navy. Nominated by Mother Natalie Guy. Thank you. Thank you. And serving in the United States Navy, Vincent Deparini. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Rudy. To our honorees, your service has left a lasting impression on Santa Maria. To your families and loved ones, thank you for making that possible. And to our community, may these banners remind us every day as we drive by them that this heroism often lives right next door. Congratulations to our 2025-2026 winter class of Hometown Heroes, and thank you for your service.
It seems like just saying thank you isn't enough for all the things that men and women did to protect our country, not just them, but their families. So we appreciate that so much. We will now move on to the public comment portion of the agenda. Madam Clerk, could you please read the criteria?
Yes. Speakers may provide public comments on any matter within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, maximum 15 minutes for public comment period. Unless the majority of the council objects, the mayor may provide speakers more or less time to speak. All comments or queries shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any specific member thereof. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54942A2, the Ralph M. Brown Act, no action or discussion by the City Council shall be undertaken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda, except to briefly provide information, ask for clarification, provide direction to staff, or schedule a matter for a future meeting. And I just want to note that tonight, our visual display of the timer that we usually put up on the screens is not available tonight, but they will still be timed and they'll hear a beep.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay. John Roner, followed by Sarah McDonald, followed by Sue Heisman. Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor. Council members, city staff, and all others in attendance, good evening. My name is John Rohner, and I wanted to introduce myself as the new Public Affairs Manager for SoCal Gas. I cover San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara County. I like to say my coverage territory is Hearst Castle to Carpinteria. It's a great coverage territory. I'd say the best. And I took on this role recently after Tim Mahoney retired. I don't know if, yep, see, everybody shakes their, he was in the role for about 27 years, so really big shoes to fill. And so that's why I'm here to introduce myself. And I wanted to reiterate that SoCal Gas remains committed to supporting local governments and communities to provide safe, reliable, and affordable energy delivery today, ready for tomorrow. And please don't hesitate to reach out, and I look forward to working together in the future. Thank you.
Does this mean you're going to have the same color of hair as Mr. Mahoney once you start working?
I think it's already starting,
Okay.
so.
Thank you very much for introducing
Thank you.
yourself. Sarah McDonald, followed by Sue Heitzman, followed by Cliff Solomon. Good evening, Ms. McDonald.
Good evening. It's nice to be back, and I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to remind us on the land of which we occupy, set our feet. It's a land acknowledgement of the Chumash. Before we begin today, we feel it's appropriate to acknowledge that our event is being held on the land of the first people of our area, the Chumash people. The Chumash have occupied this land since time immemorial. Their connection to the land is deeply rooted, from the native plants to the sacredness of the mountains to the ocean. Historically, Chumash land stretched as far north as Paso Robles, as far as south as Malibu, as far inland as the San Joaquin Valley, and included in the beautiful areas such as the location of today's proceedings. And I want to acknowledge this, that we need to respect our indigenous people and all people that reside in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue Heitzman, followed by Cliff Solomon, followed by Danny Mogg.
Thank you. I'm Sue Heitman, and I'm a resident here in Santa Maria, and my husband and I were former farmers, and in fact, we raised a number of crops, and one of them was award-winning olives for olive oil, along with my sister back there and her family. And since then, we're very concerned about the issues that relate to our farm worker population. So I just want to talk about some facts from a farmer perspective. One is that 70% of United States farm workers are not native born. 40% are illegal, and most of those that are illegal have tried to get citizenship. 70% of the crops that we grow here are worker intensive, meaning that they're not mechanized, so we need large work populations. For example, one of the farm managers told me that for the average strawberries that they're growing, it takes 300 people, farm workers, to put in the new crop, and now he's only getting 70% of those workers, which is down to 80 people's putting in that crop. And what that means for us is people are disappearing. It means the economy will disappear eventually if this continues. 70%, excuse me, of our economy is reflected in the $2 billion in Santa Barbara County's farm agriculture. That goes to taxes in Santa Maria. It goes to revenue for all our restaurants that people pay for, the grocery stores, etc. You notice I'm saying 70%. I'm kind of stuck on that. So 70% of our community, of our farm workers here, are living in Santa Maria. 70%. And 70% of Santa Maria is Hispanic, and even if they're not a farm worker, they're being targeted in our community. So I guess what I was concerned about is it feels like a disappointment that 70% of the city council do not see this as the #1 issue for us right now. So I thought at first it might be because you didn't have knowledge of what was happening. But I feel like with the media, especially national and local media, that's probably not true. Our local media have been very good at coming out to the protest, including in the rain. So I'm instead thinking it might be fear. There's a lot of fear in this community about retaliation. But I think we have a remedy for that fear. And let me tell you a quick story. So there are millions of people working on this issue all across the United States. And in California and in Santa Maria, there are at least 12 organizations that see this as the major issue for Santa Maria. Quickly, we see that this is the community that has your back, all here waiting to speak. We want you to have our back and look at immigration policy for Santa Maria. Look at creating that task force that you put on hold for so long and help us get ICE out of 805. Thank you.
Thank you. Cliff Solomon, followed by Danny Mogg, followed by Pam Gates.
Good evening, Mayor Patino and City Council members. My name is Cliff Solomon, and I'm here as a member of Indivisible Santa Maria and as a member of the community to express my frustration with the ongoing delay in establishing an ad hoc immigration committee so that we can begin addressing immigration issues in Santa Maria. I have heard comments that the City Council is powerless to handle this issue. I also understand that the City of Santa Maria has a significant financial deficit. However, I must point out that other cities are taking action and acknowledging the serious need. Here are some examples. Carpinteria has dedicated funds to nonprofits providing emergency assistance. Goleta has allocated dollars in response to immigration enhancement. The City of Santa Barbara is providing money for immigration support services. Oxnard is contributing funds over 3 years to the Ventura County Public Defender's Office. Santa Paula has allocated money from the Ventura County Community Foundation's Neighborhood Support Fund. Thousand Oaks has allocated dollars from the Ventura County Community Foundation Neighbor Support Fund. Ventura has dedicated money through the VCCF's Neighborhood Support Fund. And Camarillo has donated to Food Share Ventura County. Additionally, Santa Barbara County has made a large sum of money available for immigration support services. And while you failed to take action, as of last Saturday, 1,475 individuals have been kidnapped by ICE in the Tri-Counties. I urge you to take action. Establishing the Immigration Ad Hoc Committee is a necessary first step. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Danny Mogg, followed by Pam Gates, followed by Gail McNeely.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, and distinguished public servants. My name is Danny Mogg, and I'm on the leadership team with Santa Maria Indivisible. I'm also a proud resident of Santa Maria in Santa Barbara County here. I'm here today to strongly urge this council to formally create an immigration ad hoc committee to address our community's concerns over the increasing ICE activity within Santa Maria. As of today, over 1,400 people have been kidnapped in our region, with 33% of those kidnappings happening here in the city of Santa Maria. We ask the council to acknowledge the number of arrests made by ICE in Santa Maria and ask for that number to be reflected as a matter of public record. Additionally, we also ask that the city request information from Immigration and Customs Enforcement after any arrest made within the city limits. It is imperative that our city officials acknowledge the concerns surrounding immigration and take a firm stance against racist and unconstitutional arrests that are happening within our city limits. Please consider publicly supporting state resolutions like the No Vigilantes Act, the No Secret Police Act, that protect our undocumented community in Santa Maria and begin restoring trust among city officials and community members. I would like to thank the council members who voted yay on a request for an after-action report regarding the events taking place last November on Telephone Road. For those who voted no, I am very interested in your rationale for that vote. We are all quite aware that we're currently dealing with a budget deficit here in Santa Maria that is in the neighborhood of $25 million. And now, by virtue of the indiscriminate and unconstitutional ICE raids in our city, we have a shrinking tax base. My question to the council is, how is your tacit support for these policies in any way fiscally responsible? It is clear that we're dealing with a mentally unstable chief executive in the White House, and the winds of change are blowing fiercely across this country. They blow right through our city and state. The only question for our elected officials is, on which side of history will you stand? The citizens of our beautiful city are watching closely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French. Pam Gates, followed by Gail McNeely.
Good evening, Mayor
Good evening,
Patino.
Ms. Gates.
Thank you, Mayor. I am Pam Gates. I am also here with Indivisible Santa Maria. And good evening to you all. 1 year ago today, the current president was inaugurated, and the wave of terror increased for people of color. On February 1st, it will be 1 year since you, Mayor Patino, released the city's statement addressing immigration enforcement, saying that, among other comments, we know the immigration enforcement is a sensitive issue, and we've heard concerns from residents, community groups, and nonprofits about federal immigration enforcement. While, as you said, the city cannot, quote, lawfully restrict federal agents, unquote, the council should not sit silent while the community is victimized daily. I'm going to repeat some of those numbers that we do want in the public record. As of yesterday, 1,475 confirmed illegal kidnappings of citizens and non-citizens have occurred in the Tri-Counties. 373 of those in Santa Maria. Since January 1st, we have already had 75 confirmed kidnappings. It's escalating. And we know the numbers are much higher. Last fall, Councilmember Soto asked the council to form an ad hoc committee to better understand what the city could legally do to protect its families. And nothing has happened, and it continues to stall. We understand that potentially this will become an agenda item in February, but no date has been released yet. We ask that you set the date quickly and that you explore options and involve those most impacted by these activities and the organizations that serve them. The time is now for the City Council and all city officials to acknowledge the community's concerns surrounding immigration and to take a firm stance against the arrests happening every day in the city limits. You started with a proclamation to respect life, and that's all we're asking. Please respect the life of all the citizens and protect them. Thank you.
Gail McNeely, followed by Michelle, I think it's Ampliz, followed by Adam Pacheco.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Gail McNeely. I'm an Irishman from Cleveland, Ohio. All of my ancestors came to America without papers. They were called WAPs. So this is not new to the United States of America. Our immigration system is broken. We know that. We know that the people who come here are looking for a better life just like our ancestors did. We know that they're not criminals. By and large, criminality is not part of them. Statistics show that immigrants do less crime than non-immigrants in the United States. The minister came up and said that our job, your job, our city's job, is to protect the most vulnerable among us. Who is more vulnerable than the mothers and fathers that are being swept up off the street, often violently, before our eyes? Why is there no protection given by this city to the people who live here? Thousands and thousands of people who live among us and work with us and for us. They're our neighbors. And why do the people on this city council not think it is so important to sit down and say, what can we do to help? The minister said, it is our job to protect the most vulnerable. I say to all of you, as human beings, this is your job. Above any other job you're doing, the budget is not as important as the people. So, Gloria Soto, thank you very much for your motion. Have the courage, City Council, to do the right thing. You know what the right thing is. Protect the vulnerable among us. They're our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle, I'm probably gonna ruin your name. Is it Ambliz? Ambriz, okay. Followed by Adam Pacheco, followed by Lisa Thornhill.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Michelle Ambriz, and I am a policy advocate for CAUSE and a volunteer for the 805 Rapid Response Network here in Santa Maria. I am here tonight to urge this council to establish an immigration ad hoc committee to address our community's concerns on the increasing ICE activity within Santa Maria. As of today, like you've heard, there have been 1,475 kidnappings within our region, with 373 of those happening here in Santa Maria. Over the holidays alone, while folks were thinking about what they were going to eat, what presents to hand out to their families, over 90 people were taken within our very own community. And this happened, these raids happened predominantly in Latino low-income neighborhoods where they discriminately profiled brown people as their targets. This issue continues to escalate, and it is extremely disappointing to see that the majority of our city council, with the exception of Gloria Soto, refuse to acknowledge that this is impacting the constituents that they oversee, under the guise that, quote, ICE has always been here. This has always happened, as Mayor Patino, you said in that meeting in November. Well, just because this has always happened doesn't mean our response has to be the same. How much more loss does our community need to face until you take action? Does it take for one of your community members to die under the untrained hands of these agents for you to finally care? That's how serious this issue is, and that's how serious it has been. Our community will continue to attend these meetings and continue to speak out against these injustices until you decide to take action. I stand with the undocumented community of Santa Maria and ask that our council take a stance as well. Please consider establishing the Immigration Ad Hoc Committee that we've been asking for to discuss potential local resolutions that protect our immigrant community, as well as reflect the number of arrests that have happened within city limits as a matter of public record, and also requesting information from Immigration Customs Enforcement after any arrests made within Santa Maria. We urge this council to take a strong and principled stand, as neighboring cities like Guadalupe, Carpinteria, and Goleta have already done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Escobedo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick clarification. I see we received some correspondence, and there's two numbers going around. It's 1,475, and the other is 1,430. from another. And then there's one that in this, I believe, yeah, this is from you. Nearly 400 arrests happening in Santa Maria. Meantime, another said that it's 100, and some other speakers is 144 people. Just wanted clarification regarding where these numbers are coming from, and yeah, just.
Yeah, the numbers are coming from our local rapid response from 805 and DocuFund, and Tri-County, it's 1,475 confirmed kidnappings. Within the Santa Maria or city limits alone, it's 373.
Okay, thank you.
Adam, thank you. Adam Pacheco, followed by Lisa Thornhill, followed by Jeannie Sparks.
And I will, Adam Pacheco isn't able to be here. Is it okay if I read out their comment?
Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Adam. I am a youth with Tequio, FLA, Youth Impact, and an intern at the immigration law firm here in Santa Maria. I am unable to attend this meeting physically due to personal reasons, not because I am scared due to confronting a certain member in the parking lot last time. The community that voted for you to be in those seats is hurt and confused. Why aren't our council members supporting or helping us? Why aren't our council members supporting or helping the community that is majority Hispanic based? If you search up what Santa Maria is known for, agriculture will come up. And the immigrants from our community are the majority of the workers. They contribute to our town, and their children attend our local schools. And next election, when they are of age to vote, they will think, who didn't support me or my parents? I beg you from my heart to our roots, please work with us, please hear us, we will not give up.
Thank you. Lisa Thornhill, followed by Jeannie Sparks, followed by Fernando Martinez.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I want to make one notice. I was here in November, and there was a much larger Hispanic attendance. And I've noticed this around our city in many events. The Martin Luther King event that happened on Sunday. Fewer people are showing up out of fear of being taken and deported. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I am Lisa Thornhill. I am a co-president for the Santa Maria League of Women Voters, North Santa Barbara County. And I have been a resident in Santa Maria for over 60 years. I have grown up with a symbiotic relationship with our friends from Mexico. They are an integral part of our community. And I have been a member of the League of Women Voters for over 20 years. We have partnered often with our immigrant community. I want to read some statements through the National League of Women Voters. As ICE ramps up action in communities across the county, the League stands firmly in solidarity with impacted communities. For due process, as a nonpartisan pro-democracy organization, the League is deeply alarmed by the ongoing ICE detentions, which too often fly in the face of due process and other fundamental rights. These actions undermine the democratic values of fairness, equal treatment under the law, and government transparency and accountability. The League supports due process for all persons, including the right to a fair hearing, right to counsel, right of appeal, and a right to humane treatment. Immigrants are part of the fabric of our communities. They make our country strong. Immigrants are your neighbors, co-workers, and fellow community members. All immigrants in our country deserve due process and fair treatment. The League does not support deporting undocumented immigrants who have no history of major and/or violent criminal activity. The League of Women Voters, North Santa Barbara County, supports the creation of an immigration ad hoc committee and we feel it must be done in order to support and keep safe our immigration community. Together we stand, and divided we fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thornhill. Jeannie Sparks, followed by Fernando Martinez, followed by Gary Hall.
Good evening, council members. I'm Jeannie Sparks, co-executive director of Santa Barbara County Action Network, which represents community members in Santa Maria and countywide. Renee Good was recently killed by an ICE agent in Minnesota. She was a peaceful protester who was trying to drive away in her car. You could tell from the way her wheels were turned that she was not trying to hit the ICE agent, but he shot her anyway, 4 times, through the side of her windshield and also through the side window. ICE is out of control. They use excessive force, throwing people to the ground and pinning them down with their bodies. They arrest people without warrants, including citizens. They violate their own rules of conduct. More than 30 people have died, or more than 30 people died in ICE custody last year, a much greater number than in previous years. We can't let them do to our community what they have done elsewhere. SBCAN stands with undocumented residents that live in fear from ICE activity in Santa Maria. We urge you to establish an immigration ad hoc committee to protect our immigrant community as requested by Councilwoman Gloria Soto. We request information from ICE, that you get information from ICE after any arrests are made within Santa Maria city limits, and to make that number of arrests public. We urge you to support state legislation like the No Vigilantes Act and Secret Police Act. We ask you to direct your police department to intervene when ICE uses excessive force or performs illegal actions. We ask you to direct your police department to protect community members' right to protest peacefully. Families live in fear that their loved ones will be taken away. Children suffer from anxiety that affects their stability and academic performance. And workers are racially targeted even though they contribute to our local community and our local economy. We urge you to end this suffering. We urge you to protect and support your undocumented residents as neighboring cities like Guadalupe, Lompoc, Goleta, and Carpinteria have done. Thank you for your consideration and your service.
Thank you, Ms. Sparks. Fernando Martinez, followed by Gary Hall.
Buenas noches, Alcaldesa Patino y miembros del Concejal. My name is Fernando Martinez. I'm a community organizing manager with MyCop and also a member of the 805 Immigrant Coalition. I do want to be thankful and say thank you to our fellow community members, neighbors who are taking the bold action to state what's happening. This is nothing new. As many of you are aware, more than 90 people were illegally arrested just after Christmas. Many parents left their children behind. In one specific case, a gentleman managed to call me when he was already in Mexico, 3 days after he was arrested, saying, my record is slate clean. I had no driving ticket, no speeding ticket whatsoever. I have been living in Santa Maria for over 20 years. Fortunately, his wife was able to stay while she begged that her baby was going to be left alone. This is just one of the many cases that we have heard of. Yet, our local elected officials have yet to say anything. How this is affecting our community, our families, our neighbors. In November of 2025, Councilmember Soto requested the formation of the ad hoc committee, but our own city council members pushed the discussion until February. We cannot wait until more families are chased in the streets of Santa Maria, just like it happened after Christmas. I personally grew up picking strawberries with my parents while I was in high school, and I worked with many undocumented, documented immigrants in our community. And I know they are very well good people, respectful, and I know some of you know that. Let's work together take proactive actions, work with local organizations such as MyCop and other nonprofits to come up with solutions to protect our community. Let's not be an exception. Let's take the lead and follow the steps like other cities have done, like Santana, Santa Barbara, Goleta. We cannot wait any longer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Gary Hall. Mr. Hall. Good evening, Mr. Hall.
Good evening. This is going very well, thank you. I just had my eyes dilated today, and I got to tell you, it makes things look a lot different. And good evening again, Madam Mayor, council members, staff, and citizens of Santa Maria. My name is Gary Hall. I'm not going to talk about immigration. I probably should, but I'm going to share with you what I've shared with you before. I'm a resident of Rancho Buena Vista Mobile Estates at 2135 North Railroad Avenue here in Santa Maria. I represent the North Santa Barbara County Manufactured Homeowners Team, or NSBIT. NSBIT's primary goal remains to provide protection to all Santa Maria mobile home residents presently living in an unregulated rental market. That translates into the simple word of affordability. Affordable mobile home living is vanishing here in Santa Maria and all across our state. I have pointed out to you many times how the 2020 Model Lease and Enforcement Agreement, with all their flaws, have proven to be ineffective in protecting homeowner equity and maintaining affordable mobile home housing, which is, of course, what it was originally intended to do. I have repeatedly reminded you that 3.5 years ago, on June 7th, 2022, this council passed a motion with the intention of improving the 2020 model lease or replacing it. That improvement attempt has failed. So in accordance with the motion, replacement action should have taken place. Of course, it did not. We believe now is the time to take action to replace the model lease with a uniform, mandatory, and enforceable mobile home rent stabilization program, much like those in our neighboring city and county jurisdictions. A program that protects the residents by maintaining affordability and still provides the park owner a fair return. Santa Maria seniors also live with the ongoing threat that their senior mobile home park could be converted into an all-age park, as was attempted at Del Cielo Senior Park in Orchid. I brought this to this council's attention August 20th, 2024. Now 17 months later, we remain hopeful that Santa Maria will soon take action like was taken by Santa Barbara County. According to recent communications with Santa Maria Community Development personnel, I've learned that a draft senior mobile home park zoning overlay ordinance has been developed and is in internal review. We are anxious for that review to be completed and to see the ordinance adopted. Year 2025 is gone. Another year has passed without the city of Santa Maria taking effective action to address the needs of our mobile home community. It's past time to add both mobile home rent stabilization and senior mobile home park conversion prevention to a near-term future meeting agenda. We really need your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. We will now move.
Madam Mayor, if I can just announce some written comments and the people that we received it from.
Oh, yes.
We received 6 in total from Cliff Solomon, Michelle Quintero, Kathy Shahram, Julie Steyer, and Jeffrey Wheeler.
Oh, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor, I have a comment. I think the council voted to get information, public information from ICE when the incident occurred in Santa Maria. 3 council members did vote for that. It was Soto, myself, and Escobedo who voted to get information from ICE. Since then, a lot of bigger raids have occurred. And so I would like to request from the mayor if we can put on the agenda to put a resolution or a proclamation, just like Guadalupe, Goleta, Lompoc, Santa Barbara has done, so that we can send a clear message that we do stand with the immigrants, that the city does care about that, and that we do, support them. So that would be my motion, or a request to the mayor to put it on the agenda.
Okay, so we cannot, do the motion right now, other than a request to have that on the agenda, and we can do that when we do the agenda. I don't know, Mr. Rowlands, in February?
So we can't do a motion within public comment. We have to follow the procedures.
Right.
You don't have an agendized motion. What you've asked for is basically a personal privilege to have something put on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that we can do. Okay, thank you, Ms. Aguilera. Okay. We will now
Madam
move
Mayor,
on.
If I may ask.
Yes.
Who will take lead in drafting that resolution?
The city manager. I just want to state that I think a lot of the residents are like myself. My parents are immigrants. I personally picked strawberries as a child. I worked in the fields. And I think a lot of us are feeling really fearful of what's going on, as a lot of comments have been made. And I think it's clear that the city needs to make that. So, city manager, you would take lead in drafting that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
My only request would be that it's more than just a resolution in support, that it adds, that we look to include language in there that can ensure the safety of residents, including language around our local law enforcement not aiding in any federal raids.
Yeah, and I think that we have control over the local police, so I think that should be included, right? We can only control what we can control as the city, and so that would be the request, but I think we need to see a draft sent to city council, and then we can all input as to what we would like.
Okay, and so, because right now, our police department does not enforce federal immigration laws or take part in immigration or enforcement operations. And we don't know if they're coming, when they're coming, and our chief of police can speak to that. But we have no control over them at all.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I get the gist of it. We can't provide you a draft other than when it's posted, but we can look at those other jurisdictions that you called out and pull language from there. And then if you want to wordsmith it from the dais, that would be appropriate.
Perfect.
Just because I don't want to jump ahead of our skis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now move on to the consent calendar. Does anyone have items they wish to pull for discussion? Okay, Councilmember Flores?
I'd like to pull item 7D2. Thank you, Brett. So I have some concern with some of my constituents regarding the right-of-way.
Hold on 1 minute. Madam Clerk, can you read that in?
Yes, this is adoption of a resolution accepting a public right-of-way dedication in lieu of payment.
Okay, now you can go. That's all right.
So I've been getting a lot of concern from a lot of different constituents regarding the right-of-way dedication location, and by that Starbucks. So can you elaborate a little bit about how that is going to happen? And I know Some of it already came through because of the Planning Commission, and that was already passed. So, but if you could just elaborate a little bit on that. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I wanted some clarification.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Flores. So this went to Planning Commission, gosh, it was a couple of years ago now at this point, before the Starbucks was approved. And as part of that, the Planning Commission had actually recommended that the city not condition the developer to build that right-hand turn pocket due to some visibility concerns that they perceived. And so as part of the negotiation, the Public Works Department said, okay, there's still going to be a point in the future where we want to build this improvement. And so why don't we do an in lieu fee, and let's go ahead and get the real estate now and then work on the design at some point in the future. And so that's the intention of this, is to accept the real estate, accept the payment, and then work on the design to essentially install the right-hand turn pocket when appropriate. The sidewalk design and how that comes in, there's 14 feet of real estate that's going to be provided for that turn pocket. And as you know, real estate along Betteravian, especially at that intersection, is highly valuable. And so as part of the Planning Commission process and part of all the negotiations that we do with developers, that value is taken into consideration. And we try to minimize the amount of impacts that we have to a site, and while making sure that we still meet standards, the city standards for public improvements, including sidewalk. So that being said, your constituents, if they'd like to have input in the design and what that frontage improvement's going to look like when the time comes, we're happy to meet with them and take their input. But as far as the public process and what has been decided by our Planning Commission has already been conditioned by that project has already received its conditions. And so now it would just be up to the city to make some minor adjustments, but major adjustments are probably already, the project was conditioned and approved. So hopefully that helps alleviate some of your concern.
Right. Well, I'm having a town hall meeting, and I know you're one of my speakers, so at that time, maybe if they have any other.
Yeah, and it could be part of the process, and them understanding when they need to voice their opinion, and that they need to go to some of the planning commissions to let the Planning Commission know some of the things that they're concerned about, because by the time we see it in a real estate transaction, it's a little too late.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Fulgoni. Okay, anyone else have anything to pull from the consent calendar?
I move that we approve the
I have
consent.
a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
The motion was by Aguilar Hernandez and then Soto? Okay. Yes, roll call. Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez?
Here.
Councilmember Escobedo?
Here.
Councilmember Soto?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores?
Aye.
And Mayor Patino?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item is a public hearing to consider approval of the issuance of a bond for the Hancock Terrace Apartments. The report will be presented by Rebecca Campbell, Director of Finance. Good evening, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, members of the council. Rebecca Campbell, Director of Finance. So a Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act hearing, or a TEFRA hearing it's known as, is required under the Internal Revenue Service for nonprofit borrowers that intend to use tax-exempt debt under conduit issuance, such as an entity as California Municipal Finance Authority, or otherwise known as CMFA. The TEFRA hearing is held to give the public an opportunity to come and comment on the issuance of the tax-exempt bond proceeds and to hear about the financing needs of the borrower. So the notice has to be sent out at least 7 calendar days per law before the hearing, and this was achieved on January 9th of 2026. In this case, the borrower is Step Up Housing, and they are a nonprofit California organization, and they've requested that CMFA serve as the debt issuer, as the municipal issuer of tax-exempt bond proceeds, not to exceed $105 million for the project. The project consists of acquisition, rehabilitation, and improvement of a 205-unit multifamily rental housing project located at 534 East Boone Street in Santa Maria. It's known as the Hancock Terrace Apartments. The CMFA was created in January 1 of 2004, pursuant to a joint exercise of power authority, or JPA agreement, and the City of Santa Maria is a member, along with over 350 municipalities. The CMFA was formed to assist local governments and nonprofit organizations for these TEFRA hearings and to help with the issuance of bond proceeds, tax exempt. The bonds to be issued by the CMFA for the project will be the sole responsibility of the borrower. The city is not responsible for the debt or legally responsible for the debt. Participation by the city in the CMFA will not impact the city's appropriation limits and will not constitute any type of indebtedness for this. The tax-exempt bonds are payable solely out of the revenue derived from the project, from the borrower. No financial obligations to the city. The Board of Directors of the California Foundation for Stronger Communities, this is also a California nonprofit benefit corporation. They act as the Board of Directors for the CMFA, and they share a portion of the issuance fees, and they give back a portion of that. So we will receive $11,000 for the benefit of the city. So here tonight we have Travis Cooper. He's the financial advisor for CMFA, representing in case there are any questions. We also have Mr. Mike Potter here from Step Up Housing, representing the borrower. And so we ask that you hold the public hearing, and then we ask that you adopt the public hearing, and after that the state treasurer will execute an approval certificate for the financing under the TEFRA rules. So we ask that you hold the public hearing and adopt the resolution for the debt issuance.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Are there any questions from the council? Hearing none, I'll open up public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak or written comments?
I have none, Madam Mayor.
So I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Do I have a motion?
I move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez.
Aye.
Councilmember Escobedo.
Aye.
Councilmember Soto.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Aye.
And Mayor Patino.
Aye. Now we will consider the fiscal year 2025 budget rebalancing analysis and adopt a resolution approving the proposed budget amendments. And Rebecca Campbell, Director of Finance, will present the report.
Thank you, council members. So we have a presentation tonight. So the fiscal year 2025-26 budget rebalancing initiative. As part of the recommendation for the item, we'll ask that you receive and file the fiscal year 2025 budget rebalancing analysis and adopt a resolution approving first quarter budget amendments to the fiscal year 25-26 current year budget for personnel, operational, and capital changes. Tonight, we will focus on the general fund and Measure U fund. So looking back on June 18th of 2024, that was when the two-year budget cycle was adopted, and fiscal year 24-25 was adopted as a balanced budget using short-term strategies or the use of one-time reserves to balance the budget. At that time, fiscal year 25-26 was adopted unbalanced to the tune of $20 million, and the direction from council at the time was to go work on it, come back with some long-term real strategies instead of using one-time reserve funds. So there's been an amount of extraordinary work that has started 2 years ago, and where departments went through a rebalancing exercise, and a hiring chill was put into place in the fall of 2024. I do want a quick note just to say thank you to the budget team who's here tonight, Rick Kirkwood and Divine Mello. I also want to say thank you to departments and staff for all their extraordinary work and cooperation to get to where we are tonight. On June 3rd, the city held its mid-cycle review, so we relooked at the 25-26 budget. And at that time, we used $28.625 million in reserves for the budget to close a $25.1 million operational gap in the budget and also to fund capital projects for fiscal year 25-26. If you recall, this chart was updated at Q4 in the fall. And this is showing that our expenses are well exceeding the city's revenues, and this will continue to be unmanageable. Today is a big first step in helping to resolve that, but we also need to keep in mind that we are facing cost increases. So I'll just highlight those that are coming up in the new fiscal year. So we have over $2 million in compensation increases that have been previously obligated through memorandum of understandings, so those will need to be budgeted for. We have pension rate increases to the tune of $1 million citywide for the new year. Health insurance increases, we had a 10% increase in our premiums for 2026, so that's approximately $1 million citywide if the city remains at status quo. $1.6 million for general fund workers' comp insurance premiums, and $3.4 million in general fund liability insurance premiums that we are facing. And we are seeing the market rates increase, where our neighbors are experiencing this, and it's being experienced statewide for organizations. We also have $1 million that have been previously obligated through new contracts for our licensing and support costs for the city's new enterprise resource planning system that will need to be budgeted for. So on June 3rd, we discussed with council a continued plan to address the budget gap. And staff got to work right away. All city departments engaged in a rebalancing initiative that develops a plan to address the structural deficit. And actions that we've taken include, we revisited the fiscal year 24-25 revenues and expenditures, and the books closed, so we received the actuals. We met with departments to review all of their expenses and revenues. We continued the hiring chill and reviewed our vacancies, especially our long-term consistent vacancies and the hiring chilled positions. We reviewed capital outlay projects that may be held. And we established and met with the City Council ad hoc committee. As we move forward, there's more work to do, and we'll be preparing for the next budget cycle in the next few months. We will reevaluate all revenues and expenses for the city and departments. I plan to return here as soon as possible for financial and budget policy update recommendations. And we're working on revenue generation opportunities. Included tonight on the consent calendar was a tax evaluation, and citywide, we will be looking at our citywide fees. We'll continue to work together with everyone involved on short and long-term budget strategies. Okay, so now let's get into the numbers. So we've been working with departments, and they have identified $20 million in potential reductions and revenue options to address the $25.1 million gap. So looking at the top chart, that's the summary we are proposing. So the first row, fiscal year 25-26, we are proposing $12.5 million in amendments. These are the proposed amendments for today. For fiscal year 26-27, those are the next two rows. Departments have identified $7.5 million in potential amendments that we will need to follow up on and review in the upcoming budget cycle. Keep in mind that some of these changes are proposed as one-time changes, so ongoing solutions will need to be identified. The chart below shows a breakdown by department of what's proposed in the summary chart. And so the $20 million is identified and broken down by department. A little more detail about what's being proposed for today. And I'm going to work down the columns. So the first column, these are one-time budget reductions. This includes projects that are proposed to be on hold for the fire department to the tune of $3,795,000. They were originally funded by Measure U. Includes the Fire Station 1 expansion, parking lot maintenance, and some training center costs. So we will look and reevaluate these in fiscal year 26-27 and seek other funding options, or continue to put them on hold. The second column are ongoing budget amendments by department. This will reduce the structural deficit ongoing by $8.7 million. So what's included in there? We have a decrease of regular and part-time salaries and benefits of $3 million. This includes the reduction of 24 full-time equivalent positions, and that consists of 20 vacant full-time and 5 vacant part-time, or 0.8, 32-hour, I believe, non-safety positions. So those will go away. Also here is a decrease of limited service salaries and benefits by $657,000. This equates to the reduction of 39,000 limited service hours. Also included in here is the decrease of salaries and benefits by $3.9 million. This includes 8 vacant full-time positions in the fire department and 10 vacant full-time positions in the police department that will continue to be held vacant. So although held vacant, we will continue to track the FTEs, and the FTEs will stay on the books. We're not proposing to delete the FTEs. Also included as ongoing reductions is the decrease of operating budget reductions, operating costs of $128,000. And we have the increase of revenue related to building permit fees, which is anticipated to continue and be sustainable. It's important to note that all these reductions, there's no anticipated layoffs with this change. Okay. We also reviewed capital projects and identified $4.4 million in projects that can be put on hold or canceled. We will reevaluate these projects in fiscal year 26-27. The $300,000 balance is related to the RV hookup and Parks Host project. That will remain, and that will be used to evaluate ways to augment staff and deter vandalism at Pioneer Park. And for the Elks Field lighting project, which will be used to evaluate the replacement of poles and underground conduits at Elks and Hagerman Fields. These amendments proposed, so we updated the budget balancing, and the amendments are updated in the far right column.
Excuse me, Ms. Campbell, can you go back to the next slide? Go
Yes, I
back,
can.
yeah, the slide prior. The sign facade restoration program, and that's on West Main Street, is that correct?
I will need to defer to our Public Works Director. The sign facade restoration program, do you recall?
I think most of the folks who applied
Oh,
for
okay,
that
Rec and
are-
Parks. Well, we
Oh,
all.
that's where it was
got them.
supposed to be, but I wasn't sure.
It's on Main and Broadway.
Okay. How long has it been since we've used it?
You want to come up and help me out?
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. The facade program has been on hold for about 9 years now. So it
That's what I thought.
Just
Been a
stay on
while.
hold. Thank you.
But with everything happening now finally downtown, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And as I shared, we will reevaluate these projects as we move forward in the new budget process. Okay. Okay, so looking at the general fund and Measure U budgets combined, all the way to the right is the proposed changes. So this takes all these changes into account. And so the amendments proposed will significantly help to address the budget gap. But making these changes will reduce the draw of one-time funds from reserves. However, you can see, even with these changes, our expenditures exceed our revenues by $14 million. So there will need to be more work done during the budget process. So, reiterating the recommendation, we ask that you receive and file the fiscal year 25-26 budget rebalancing analysis and adopt a resolution approving $16.9 million of first quarter budget amendments to the fiscal year 25-26 budget. Any other questions?
Any questions from the council?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, Ms. Soto?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions that I've prepared. I'll start with just some clarity around the structural deficit. For the record, can staff confirm how much of the $12.5 million in proposed reductions is ongoing versus one-time? And how much of the $25.1 million structural deficit will remain unresolved after tonight's resolution?
Yep. Ongoing is $8.7 million. We will address that now. And then one time that is shown in that chart.
3.7?
3.7, yeah, 3.8.
Mm-hmm.
And remaining, we'll have to put we're going to go through the budget process, but remaining could be anywhere between $10 and $16 million. And, we'll have to see how we finish this year. We're taking these positions away, so we won't have the savings that we will normally have. And so we'll have to continue to keep the hiring chill on and continue to work together. And we'll see where we end the year at, and we'll work on, what we can do for the new fiscal year.
Can you also clarify how much of the remaining deficit rolls into fiscal year 26-27, and how today's action would affect the starting point for the 26-28 budget cycle?
Yes, so if you see here on that far right column, just to help see what we're facing. I hope this helps.
Mm-hmm.
So here on the far right column, when we ended the fiscal year 24-25, we had some savings. We had some, I would
Ending
call it
fund balance.
Fund balance. It was fund balance that we rolled over. It was unassigned fund balance.
Mhm.
So we had $7.2 million that we rolled over.
That was for 24-25.
Yeah, we rolled it into 25-26, and that is one of your funding sources to help balance your budget. So then, because of the changes, we're able to reduce our reliance on one-time money, but our revenues are still not meeting our expenses. So we're looking at next year rolling in zero, or we may roll in some because we still have half a year to go. And we may have some fund balance available that we could roll into the next year, but it's likely we won't have as much. And so if you look at, we know our costs are going up. I think there was like almost $10 million worth of costs there, depending how that lays to the general fund. So we're facing that along with less savings in fund balance we're going to have, plus we're going in the hole because we're using one-time funds. So we have some work to do going forward. Did that help?
It did.
Okay,
It
I hope
did.
so.
That was my main question, like how would that look in the rollover? But I see it here being added to the fiscal year 25-26 in the current as a beginning fund balance.
You can see there that,
But, right.
without the fund balance, that's $7 million, and the use of one-time funds, that's almost $14 million, plus where costs are increasing. So.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
Thank you for the attachments. Those were really helpful. I believe it was in attachment C, where I noticed that several of the positions had been already vacant for a number of years. At what point does staff consider a prolonged vacancy to function as, at what point do we identify a prolonged vacancy and say, okay, now it's going to be a permanent service reduction moving forward? And how does staff evaluate that impact?
I know that by law, we need to evaluate it if we have vacancies over a year. And so that's Assembly Bill 2561 requirement. We need to do that before the budget's adopted. So we will come back and discuss that with council. And so per law, we have to look at them on a one-year basis and evaluate why and explain that to the public and to you.
And how do we evaluate that?
By the vacancy.
How do we evaluate those impacts?
The impact to the departments,
And the service levels?
Through, we have to discuss it and find out what the impacts are. If there's it's a hiring issue, or if it's, a need to fill position, and we may have to make changes to the position. So there's always a lot of questions and evaluation that goes into a hiring process. And so a lot of, I would say a lot of work goes into that.
The reason why I ask that is because I want to ensure that as we're continuing to have these discussions, that the council is well aware of how any decisions that we make, how those are going to directly impact service levels out in the community, whether that be first responders or utilities or whatnot. Like I want to make sure that we fully understand what that means. I mean, I read it, I saw it in the report, I was able to read it there, but I just want to make sure that is something that is definitely at the forefront of this body that's up here, that's being asked to make these decisions. So that's just where my question was stemming from.
I can share with you, Councilmember Soto, that as part of these changes, we've had these, as you pointed out, these positions have been vacant for quite some time. However, we have experienced some community impacts with this change previously and upcoming. So some of those, I'll point them out. We've had to reduce some technology programs for adults in the library. And as we move forward, there could be impacts to our community centers. For example, we may have staffing issues with setups or takedowns. There will be less visibility because we'll have less staff. But we also have dealt with, over the years, is trying to hire and our positions being vacant because of hiring. So, you know, not just because of this change, we've experienced it in the past because of people leaving or changes in personnel.
On that note of recreation parks, I noticed some absorptions that were going to be made essentially in that department to help close the gap. And I believe that it was in the capital projects that you have outlined as canceled or delayed for this current fiscal year, 25-26. This current fiscal year, oh my gosh. And one of those being the ADA accessibility at Seamus Field. I'm curious what the current cost estimate for that is, and if that's one of the projects that's being moved to the delayed category or the canceled category. And do we legally have to have ADA accessibility to that park?
Just to share, we have $600,000 budgeted, and I'll turn it over to
If I may add,
Mr. Fulgoni.
the city is going to be doing an updated ADA transition plan that should include this facility and bring into context all of the upgrades that would need to be done. At that point, we should have a cost estimate of what it would theoretically take to make ADA improvements, and then that would come forward through the budget process as a capital project. And then the council could make that decision in context with all of the other projects that we request and can decide whether or not we'd want to move forward with that capital project at that time.
So that's being moved to the delay bucket, not the canceled
So
bucket.
we are actually engaged in a transition plan update at the moment.
Okay.
So it is being taken into and under the cover of that.
Of that ADA
Yes.
transition plan for all of the parks. Okay.
And I would add that once that plan comes to fruition, all of those projects can be prioritized.
Great. I have more questions, but I want to get.
Okay. Ms. Flores?
I just want to go off with, my colleague was talking about the freeze on hiring for our first responders. So for me, and I'm sure all our council, is always about safety for our people in the city or citizens of the city of Santa Maria. And I think it's important that I want to know today, what are we going to do? I understand the budget. I understand we have a freeze. I understand we need to close in on some items. But my concern is fire. My concern is also the police department. As we're growing, what are we going to do? We have it on a freeze, but if we need more employees, are we not going to be able to hire them? Or we just know we're in a freeze? So let me just finish. So then that puts more stress on the police, on the men that are having to work longer shifts, on our firefighters that are having to work 2 shifts. Say we have another big fire, right? So then we have to send them away. How many are we left here? My whole thing last year when the fires went on, how many do we have here? What if something happens here? I start thinking like that, right? Do we have enough, power here? I went to the chief and said, do we have enough manpower here if something would happen here in Santa Maria? So those are all my concerns for our city, that if something happens, we can't say, oh, our budget is not going to allow us to hire. I'm not in agreement with that. I think we have to be careful how we're saying that. For me, we have to be careful how we're saying that, because our first responders, yes, and us cutting services for our seniors is another big thing for me. Cutting services for veterans is another big thing. So I think that we need to be careful how we're, what we're doing. And I get it. You're doing a good job. I'm not saying that, but we have to be careful. We have to be open to what our city needs too, because we do need, we're going to need more. We're growing, and it's not fair that our law enforcement are, I don't know if they're doing double shifts now because everything is tightened up. I don't know if our firefighters are, doing, double shifts, working, because of the freeze, but I just think we need to be careful, because public safety should be our #1 concern here in the city of Santa Maria. So that, I just want to know, how do you measure your data? How do you forecast what's going to happen in 2026, you know, as far as with the budget and cutting the budget for our first responders and other programs that we have, if you can address that.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead.
I will, Councilmember Flores, I will share with you that safety is exempt from the hiring chill, with the exception of these particular long-term persistent vacancies will be held vacant for the time being. But when it comes to hiring and ongoing hiring, safety is exempt from the
They can
hiring
what?
chill. They are exempt from the hiring chill.
Okay.
So just to be clear, these were long-term persistent vacancies, so they were already vacant and they have been vacant for some time.
Right.
So we're just going to eliminate them because we hadn't filled them anyway.
We're
Correct?
going to hold them vacant and track the positions. So the hope would be in time, as our revenues grow, our costs come in line, we could add them back someday.
Okay, but that's not going to change the level of service that we've been providing because they've been vacant anyway. So we're going to keep the same level of service for the residents.
That's
Right.
correct.
Thank you. Just want to clarify that.
Thank you.
Ms. Campbell, I want to ask you, what areas, and I know insurance is one, but what are the areas where we're seeing such an increase in costs to the city?
In our salaries and benefits, so benefits, it's the insurances, really huge increases there. Our workers' comp, general liability, health insurance. We're just, you know,
Like what-
last year and this year.
What kind of a percent are we seeing in the increase?
10% on health. Do we know? %30 increases, workers' comp and liability.
Okay. Yeah, that is significant, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
has significantly impacted us last year and this year upcoming as well. And as we add positions, increase salaries, those costs increase as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ms. Escobedo, did you have any questions? Ms. Soto, did you have more
Yes,
questions? Go
I
ahead.
do. My question is around, my next question is around the $1 million increase in permit revenue fees. I know that in the past, the city has been treating it as more like a volatile, or uncertain, I should say. Like, it's hard to predict how much permit fees are going to come in at. Yeah. And so I'm curious where this $1 million assumption came from. Because in previous budgets, in my opinion, the way that it's been presented, it's a much more conservative projection of revenue, even though we always exceed revenue when it comes to building fees.
Go ahead.
Councilmember Soto, Council, happy to answer that question. We've initially made the projections back in February of 2025 for this fiscal year, and that actually has been to date our highest level of permitting activity in the city of Santa Maria, was last fiscal year. So we were very conservative when we made those projections, but as we have gotten about halfway through the year, we are on track to meet and even potentially exceed last year's numbers. That said, we did remain with a conservative projection on that increase in $1 million. We likely could have gone even higher if we were 100% confident that we would match it. But because it is tied to the real estate market where there is some volatility, we remained conservative with that.
When you mean, when you say there's a chance we may exceed it, how much by?
I'm trying to remember the exact figures.
Sorry for...
So I believe our projections were originally set at 3.5 million, and we ended up coming in at the end of last fiscal year at about 5.5 million. So there was a good amount of wiggle room in between those two. So we settled at kind of the Goldilocks, the medium option, and added $1 million now. That could end up, these numbers were from a month or two ago. as we collect more revenue and some of the larger projects come in, those may continue to exceed even more, and we'll kind of clean that up with the new biennial budget process.
Okay, thank you. On the same note of revenue streams, I noticed in our original budget adoption, other revenues listed as a line item. And in looking at that, I think that was in the fourth quarter report as well. The actuals versus the budgeted was significantly higher, meaning we came in higher revenues. And so I'm just curious if you can talk more about what those other sources of income are, because it's not very clear in the budget. And I'm asking these questions because I want to make sure that we're taking all of that into account as we're talking about expenses exceeding revenues.
The other revenue category contains our franchise fees and our, do you recall?
It pretty much.
I think we probably want to come around. Thank you, if you recall.
Thank you, Councilmember Soto, Mayor, members of the council. The all other revenues line that you're talking about in the fourth quarter financial report is really a roll-up of all of the different revenue streams the city receives. That's not one of our, what we consider our four key primary revenues, being property tax, sales tax, hotel and occupancy tax or transient occupancy tax, and then licenses, permits, and fines. So those are our four key primary revenue sources. What you're going to see fall into that, all of the revenue categories are going to be things like franchise fees, which aren't as volatile as some of the others that I had mentioned that are a little bit more volatile depending on economic stability and activity and what's going on in the country. You're going to see in that grouping the various transfers in that come into the general fund from other funds, like our cost allocation plan, which we charge to the other funds that receive services from our central services departments, like Mayor and Council, City Manager's Office, Finance, Human Resources. That's charged out to the other funds indirectly, and the costs are recovered from that cost allocation plan. So that's what you're seeing in that all other revenues line, and why it can be a little bit more volatile in terms of actuals compared to budget. But the rest of the quarterly financial report, there's a section that talks about the revenue variances, and usually those, if there's any major swings in any category that's captured in that all other revenues line, is explained in that revenue variances section of the quarterly financial report.
Okay, great. And are we expecting or projecting the same as we did for the 24-25 budget for the other revenue streams, or is there going to be an increase there as well?
It really depends on the revenue stream in particular. There are things, like I mentioned, our cost allocation plan. We update that every 2 years during the full cycle budget process. We engage a consultant that helps us with that. So that is roughly about $5.5 to $6 million a year that comes into the general fund. We maintain that as steady. So out of that, I think it's $28.6 million was the line, the all other revenues line. So a significant chunk is going to be that cost allocation plan that remains steady for both years of the biennial plan. Other revenue streams, like franchise fees, we evaluate those. We look at trends to see if those are upticking, and if they are, then we'll increase those as well. Charges for service also fall under that other revenue line. So every year when the Recreation and Parks Department or any other department that charges user fees reevaluates the fee schedule, we're going to be going through that update. As Ms. Campbell mentioned, we're going through a full-scale user fee update for this next biennial budget process. we take those projections into account as well. You might recall a couple of years ago when the city council made the decision to move to 100% cost recovery that we ended up increasing our user fee revenue forecast by about, I believe it was 1.3 million to 1.6 million just by council's action to increase to full cost recovery. So that gives you a sense of the various different components of that all other revenues category that we take into consideration and evaluate it by each full budget cycle, and then also during the mid-cycle update as well. But we really take a close look at it during the full cycle update.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I don't have any other questions. Sorry.
Ms. Aguilar Hernandez, no questions? Any other questions? Thank you. Okay. So we have received and will file the report. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak or written comments?
I have none, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So now do I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Any further discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Oh, Mr. Escobedo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the last 5 years, I've been sitting on this seat, and District 1 has been repeatedly asking for some actions. And I've been voting against, I don't even recall if I ever voted for a budget at this point. Maybe the first one. And it was mid-cycle. And I wish that, what I see today, it's not what I would like to see. And my district wouldn't like to see that. But it's a progress. And I wish we could have taken that recommendation from District 1 a couple of years ago, and maybe we shouldn't have been in this position. We shouldn't have this number in front of us. Maybe not putting our political interests before the community. You mentioned that that good chunk of our expenditures are salaries. Last year we put more than a couple of $1 million that we didn't have. I'm glad that finally the council are asking the right question and are concerned about the money that it's not ours, it's the people's. And I think it was very irresponsible to get to this point. Maybe paying some endorsements for our campaigns, maybe some promises for future campaigns. And that shouldn't be public service. And in public administration, money is short. You gotta be wise. You gotta put the needs of the people who's paying that money first. And now I'm glad that finally I hear those ears that are open for discussion, to be mindful, to be worried about the future of Santa Maria after so many years. So, being said that, I told you so. I didn't want to say that sentence, but we've been pushing you guys to get to this point. And for the first time, as a council member, I'm gonna vote for this because I really commend you guys as finance department and city manager's office and everybody who's putting some work into that. I know that, I personally don't like seeing this, but what I like seeing is that there was some action on this. So I give you guys a vote of confidence because I see that. I see somebody, you guys really, really putting your work, getting to work. So I'll go ahead and support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Soto?
I just want to say that what staff has presented for for us tonight allows the city to balance the current fiscal budget by relying primarily on vacancies and one-time savings. At the end of the day, my priority, and I know the priority of us up here, is to maintain service levels for city residents. And we are doing that by balancing this current budget that's before us as best we can. And we will continue to take the utmost care when it comes to continuing to close this budget gap while ensuring that it's not on the backs of those who make this city run, while ensuring that it's not on the backs of our first responders, of our employees who are ensuring that vital services like trash collecting, utilities you have at Parks and Rec and Parks, that those services continue to remain accessible to the community. Library, youth services, I mean, you name it. And at the end of the day, yes, we understand where these expenditures are rising, and at the same time, we have a responsibility to ensure that we continue to maintain the highest quality of service for residents, and that's by protecting the vital workforce that we have in the city of Santa Maria. And so hearing my colleague put blame on increasing salary expenditures in the way that he has does not reflect, I want to say, on the sentiment of the majority of the council, who definitely values the hard work of the public workers here in the city of Santa Maria, and we're going to continue to do our best to ensure that we remain as best stewards of people's taxpayers, and again, ensuring that we continue to make strides on closing this budget gap, but not on the backs of the people who make this city run.
And I would second that sentiment. The city doesn't run without its employees, and if you have unhappy employees, then it affects the level of service that the employees provide. You know, you have to have a heart of service, and you have to be a public servant to want to work for a city. And so we need to be fair that if we accepted to provide a level of service at the city, that we do so with quality, and that we support our employees who are out there providing the services day in and day out. So I think it's really important that we note that. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Escobar.
We need to be fair. What about telling people that, we're gonna freezing? What about departments? Is that fair for them? You get limited resources, and it's just incredible to hear that you guys, because I was having the impression that you actually care about people instead of, I put people in Santa Maria before our employees. I put people in Santa Maria before anybody in this room because they're the bosses. And I know that you guys don't do that because, union money, union endorsements, but I don't, you know what? It's not about them. It's about the community, because they're the ones that, with their hard work, put those money in our hands. And instead of thinking that, well, we need to give money to make employees happy, because if not, they will be bad at our community. Oh, man, what are you going to tell them if, maybe this year, maybe next year, you need to fire some of those employees that you guys think that you say that you protect? What are you going to say or do if you decided that it's, those people that are just had an increase, now, sorry, but you're fired? Have you guys thought about that, or just, we're just going for the forward and rolling and see what's happening in the future? We're going to please everybody. I'm really concerned that we haven't seen real change. I thought you guys did because you guys started great, and I was really happy. But I just don't think that you guys have the heart in the people. Instead, you have the heart on your campaigns, your future in politics, and that's disappointing. That's part of the why people, and I said it when I got elected the first time and get reelected the second time, people don't want the same old way to do politics. People want public servants, not the ones that make decisions from a small group of people behind a desk.
And I think making this about campaigns is inappropriate. We are talking about the budget. We are talking about employees, city employees who we, as a body, govern, right? And so it's not one or the other. This is about the residents of Santa Maria getting services from the employees. And to talk about campaigns and money and all that, it's completely inappropriate at this level. Specifically, I find it disrespectful to the employees who prepared reports and are providing information and who are sitting here tonight, and the people who are watching from home who didn't sign up to talk about campaigns and money and endorsements and so forth as council members trying to raise.
It's not being disrespectful.
Thank you very much.
It's
so,
being
Madam
transparent.
Clerk, can you please call a roll?
Yes, Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Flores.
Aye.
Councilmember Escobedo.
Aye.
Councilmember Soto.
Aye.
And Mayor Patino.
Aye. Next, we'll have a report by the city manager, Mr. Rowlands.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Just a couple things.
Excuse me, Ms. Campbell, thank you very much for the
Thank
report.
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
It's a couple of things regarding the budget. I want to say thank you very much for your guidance tonight and for our staff doing the work they're doing. The questions that you're asking are the same questions that we're asking staff right now internally. And we're asking, part of the budget process, we're actually going through asking each of our departments, what programs are we offering? How much do those programs cost? So we come back and give a list to City Council at an appropriate time. One of the other things I'm looking at doing this year is hopefully on some of our off Tuesdays is having just a City Council meeting just on the budget, having the department directors come up here and talking with you about the proposed impacts and cuts, the reductions that they're making in each of their departments. So that you have plenty of time to understand it, plenty of time to ask questions, and we can come back and give you the general impact that we're having with them. In terms of public safety, before we did any of this, we sat down for countless hours with both our chiefs. They said we can do this, and it's move into our next budget year to work on this. And so we are very conscious of where City Council wants to go, your priorities. We want to make sure that we reach those with you, with also being within fiscally responsible, and come back with a plan to make it work for everybody here. And so again, we'll say thank you, everybody here, for your guidance and for your leadership on this. And then on the next council meeting, we're looking at a general plan annual report, looking at the ordinance for AB 1600 fee reductions, and also I'll be drafting, work to get it done for the immigration item we talked about earlier today. Bring it back on February 3rd for your discussion and approval on that item there. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go over the oral reports of council members. Councilmember Flores.
I want to start, and before I give my report, I wasn't able to say anything, but I just want to bring it to Councilmember Escobedo that I care about the city of Santa Maria, and I was voted in by the people of Santa Maria, and I didn't use campaign funds for my campaign. I was supported by my family. So for you to sit up here, whether you're trying to pick somebody else, I think it's unfair. I think you shouldn't do that. We are elected officials, and we need to act like that. That's it. So January 7th, thank you, everybody. January 7th, I attended the Communify meeting. January 13th, the Boys and Girls Club, their 60th year celebration. January 14th, the Firefighters Appreciation. January 15th, the Homewood Suites Tourism and Eco Lions on the same day. Thank you.
Mr. Escobedo?
It's not being disrespectful.
Oh
Where you're
my
talking the truth. And you see how great this is? This is a perfect example of what happened. You know, go back to last year's when I saw 4 members of this council raising up and applauding, putting more than $1.2 million into the deficit. It hurts. I know it hurts because truth hurts. And somebody said, honesty is part of who I am in this, and well, you gotta be honest to the people. And I know it's gonna hurt, and it's gonna duele mucho. Pero la verdad siempre debe de ser la que prevalece en todo debate. So, on January 13, I had the pleasure of attending the 16th anniversary of the Boys and Girls Club. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Aguilera Hernandez?
Yes, on December 15th, I attended the investment committee meeting. On January 5th, I went to the Jim Glein sign dedication, which was great. It was just really nice to have that. On January 9th, I went to the Monique Limon swearing in as the Senator Pro Tem in Santa Barbara. On the 14th, I went to Guadalupe to the Early Childhood Center ribbon cutting. On the 14th as well, I went to the Firefighter Appreciation Night. On the 15th, I went to the SBCAG meeting to speak about the report that the county had released. I attended the Homewood Suites. I also attended, this was through the chamber, for celebrating tourism, and I also attended the Econ Alliance dinner on that same night. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Soto?
Yes, on January 9th, I believe it was with you, we came in for a city meeting. I believe it was the ad hoc budget committee meeting. On January 13th, I attended a public budget revenue workshop. And on January 14th, I attended, alongside the 3 of you, with the exception of Carlos, the annual Fire and AMR Appreciation Night. And so this is just, I'll take this moment to say thank you to our public workers and employees.
Thank you. December 4th, I attended the Unmet Transit Needs session, listening session. On the 9th, the Ad Hoc Budget Committee that you reminded me of, I didn't have down here. On the 10th, I attended the 3CE Board Policy Directors Meeting and Dignity Health Joint Boards Annual. On December 11th, I attended the Coastal Commission to make sure that we have Diablo Canyon stays there. It was very, very important. I attended a LAFCO meeting in the afternoon. On December 12th, I attended the Elected Leaders Forum, Housing and Homelessness. On December 13th, I went to the 2nd Annual Machado Plaza Holiday Market, and it was so nice, and it's so nice to see all those little children having fun in the imported snow. And on the 17th, I attended a monthly lobbyist briefing. On January 5th, the Jim Glines, the new street there in front of the community bank that's dedicated to Jim Glines. On January 8th, I attended another LAFCO meeting. Let's see, the Boys and Girls Club celebration on the 13th, their 60th year here in Santa Maria. It started off as the Boys Club, and now it's the Boys and Girls Club. On the 14th, I attended the California City's Mayor and Council Members Roundtable, which is really interesting. It goes on for about an hour and a half, but you're on Zoom and you're talking and listening to people that throughout the state and what they're doing. I did the ribbon cutting ceremony out in Guadalupe at the Early Learning Center, and the 48th Annual Fire Protection AMR Appreciation Night. And thank you to our firefighters, and thank you to the Elks Club. They put on a great dinner. On the 15th, I attended the SBCAG Board of Directors meeting and the APCD meeting in the afternoon. attended the tourism celebration at Homewood Suites, and that evening, the Econ Alliance annual dinner. And that is it. And ladies and gentlemen, good night. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.